What if some of the most powerful gardening techniques were never invented by modern science at all? What if millions of ordinary families once used them every single day and then slowly forgot? During World War II, something remarkable happened in the United States. Faced with food shortages and supply disruptions, citizens across the country began growing their own food, not just a few hobby gardeners. Entire neighborhoods, entire cities, backyards, schoolyards, empty lots, even rooftops. By 1944, an estimated 18 to 20 million victory gardens existed across the country. According to USDA surveys, these gardens produced about 42% of the fresh vegetables consumed in the United States in 1943, nearly half. Grown not by corporations, not by industrial farms, but by ordinary people using surprisingly simple methods. And that's where the real story begins. Because many of the techniques behind those gardens are now being rediscovered by modern agricultural science. Yet most gardeners today have never heard of them. In the next few minutes, you'll discover 6 of those methods. Simple strategies that improve soil, increase yields, and strengthen plants without relying on complex technology. Some of these ideas were used in victory gardens. Others go back centuries, practiced by traditional farmers and indigenous communities long before industrial agriculture existed. And once you understand these 6 techniques, something surprising happens. Plants grow faster, soil holds more water. Gardens that once struggled suddenly start thriving, not because you added more fertilizer, but because you stopped fighting the natural systems already working beneath your feet. Victory gardens didn't appear out of nowhere. They were part of a national effort to strengthen the food supply during wartime. Government agencies distributed gardening manuals. Community groups organized planting drives. Schools taught children how to grow vegetables. Even dense urban areas transformed empty land into productive gardens. The goal was simple: reduce pressure on commercial agriculture so farms could focus on feeding troops overseas. But something else happened. People rediscovered knowledge that farmers had relied on for generations. Methods based not on purchased inputs, but on ecological balance, healthy soil, crop diversity, plant partnerships. Today, we often associate gardening success with products, fertilizers, specialized soil mixes, pest control sprays. But many of the techniques that sustained victory gardens required none of that. They relied on understanding how soil ecosystems actually function. And once you see your garden as a living system, everything changes. Method 1. Mulching and chop and draw. One of the simplest techniques in traditional gardening is leaving plant material directly on the soil surface. Today we call this mulching. Instead of removing plant residues, gardeners cut them and allow them to decompose naturally. Research summarized by the Food and Agriculture Organization shows mulch can significantly reduce soil erosion compared to bare soil. It also helps retain moisture, regulate soil temperature, and gradually return nutrients to the ground. But the most important effect happens underground. As plant material decomposes, it feeds bacteria, fungi, and earthworms that transform organic matter into plant-available nutrients. The soil becomes a living system rather than an inert growing medium. And once that biological system begins functioning properly, something remarkable happens. Fertility begins to regenerate itself. Method 2. Soil biology. Healthy soil is one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth. In just 1 teaspoon of productive soil, scientists estimate there can be millions to billions of microorganisms. Bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, all interacting in a microscopic food web. These organisms break down organic matter, release nutrients, and form symbiotic relationships with plants. Modern ecological research shows soil microbial communities strongly influence plant health and ecosystem recovery. In other words, plants are never growing alone. They are supported by entire invisible ecosystems. Method 3. Mycorrhizal networks. Roughly 80% of land plants form partnerships with fungi known as mycorrhizae. These fungi connect to plant roots and extend microscopic filaments through the soil. Think of them as an underground extension of the plant's root system. A 2024 meta-analysis found that plants associated with arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi showed, on average, 105% higher phosphorus uptake, 67% higher nitrogen uptake, and 47% greater plant biomass. Plants aren't growing alone. They are connected to a vast underground network, and most gardeners never realize it exists. Method 4. The Three Sisters. Long before modern agriculture existed, indigenous farmers in North America developed a planting system known as the Three Sisters: corn, beans, and squash. Each crop supports the others. Corn grows tall and provides structure for climbing beans. Beans enrich the soil with nitrogen. Squash spreads across the ground, shading the soil and suppressing weeds. Agronomist Jane Mount Pleasant of Cornell University studied this system and found it could produce higher combined energy and protein yields per hectare than comparable monoculture crops. Even more interesting, studies have found Three Sisters systems often leave less unused nitrate in the soil, meaning nutrients are used more efficiently. 3 crops. 1 ecosystem. And once you begin seeing plants as collaborators rather than competitors, another powerful technique suddenly makes sense. Method 5. Cover crops. Cover crops are plants grown primarily to improve soil rather than to harvest. Examples include clover, rye, and hairy vetch. Hairy vetch is particularly powerful because it can fix nitrogen from the atmosphere through symbiotic bacteria in its roots. Research suggests hairy vetch can contribute roughly 80 to 200 pounds of nitrogen per acre, depending on conditions. But nitrogen is only part of the story. Cover crops also protect soil from erosion, improve soil structure, and increase organic matter. In surveys following the severe 2012 U.S. drought, farmers reported higher yields in fields previously planted with cover crops. Healthy soil simply handles stress better. And when soil becomes healthier year after year, gardens begin producing more food with fewer external inputs. Method 6. Saving locally adapted seeds. For most of agricultural history, farmers saved seeds from their best plants. Over time, this created varieties adapted to local conditions. Recent genetic research studying traditional wheat varieties found geographic patterns in DNA methylation, an epigenetic marker associated with environmental adaptation. This suggests plants repeatedly grown in the same environment may gradually accumulate subtle biological adjustments over many generations. Seed saving alone doesn't guarantee instant adaptation, but over time, locally adapted varieties often become more resilient to the specific conditions where they grow. And that resilience can make the difference between crops that struggle and crops that thrive. So why aren't these techniques more widely discussed today? Part of the answer lies in how agriculture changed after World War II. Mechanization expanded rapidly. Synthetic fertilizers became widely available. Large-scale monocultures became the dominant farming system. These innovations dramatically increased production, but they also shifted attention toward systems dependent on external inputs. When agricultural systems depend heavily on purchased products, certain types of knowledge naturally receive more attention than others. Techniques based on ecological balance often receive less focus, even if they remain effective. But in recent years, something interesting has begun happening. Scientists and farmers are rediscovering the importance of soil health, crop diversity, biological soil systems. Many of the same ideas that sustained earlier farming systems are now returning to agricultural research, and that realization changes how we see the garden. Walk outside tomorrow morning, look at your soil, look at the plants growing in it. Look at the life happening beneath the surface. Most of the systems that make plants grow stronger are already there. They've existed for millions of years. The question isn't whether nature knows how to grow food. The question is whether we remember how to work with it, and once you see that system, you can't unsee it.